Love that. Love them. Not the college, but love them.
Okay, so let's just get into it then, because I think a perfect way to start, because that's obviously where we met, was our
Yeah.
college.
Oh man.
So, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, the Marissa, the queen herself, the photography phenomenon, the model, the
Oh,
model.
please. Please.
She's humble. She's so humble. And you know what? She's here for a good time. Y'all, Marissa Bruce. What a gem. What a gem.
Girls.
So me and you met at Catawba
But Baba. Mhm.
College.
Sorry. So unserious.
That's where we met. So unserious. Um, you came in sophomore year.
Yeah.
So at this point, by the time Marissa met me, we was we was already in Struggle City. We was already there.
Fighting, swinging.
Resident, permanent address, that's where we were.
Yeah.
Um, not only did not only did you jump immediately into party season with us, like you were ready to go. You were like, I'm down for the vibes. Let's do it. Ball out.
Oh yeah. Me, you, and Samia, there was never
There was
a
never a dull
better
moment.
party season trio. We were, when I say what was Samia's car's name? Princess. Um
Princess.
we were Princess.
Princess, she went on some trips.
Princess was rolling. Like whenever
She
we
was
could
roll
roll,
dog for show.
Princess was in there and she got us where we needed to go.
No
And it was
questions asked.
to
Car
the
could be
car.
somewhat struggling. She got us there.
She got and I got mad love for
Trooper.
Princess. She was a trooper.
Also shout out Samia for being the
I
driver.
mean, yeah. Yeah, you gotta have one in the group. And
It
I
wasn't
know
me and
she
you.
yeah, and I was like, I had a car. I just really if I had the opportunity not to drive, I
I
always
was
took it. And
not
I was like, oh,
driving.
I'll just sit in the passenger seat and don't worry about it. I'll just, turn us up. I was here for the vibes, like great with the music, everything else, can't help you.
I think the best part of those drives to these parties, because mind you, um, we never like we went to a couple parties on campus, but it being our campus, they were real quiet, short, got shut down
Shut down.
because
Yeah.
why let college kids do what college kids do? Let's shut it
Mhm.
down. So we would go on drives. We would travel to these parties, roughly 45 minutes to an hour, depending on
Mhm.
traffic.
We was gonna get to that party.
We was gonna get to that party though. Um, it would have the most, not necessarily wholesome, but like most girls in the 18 to 22 range moments
Yeah.
that I really think are so key to development, especially with everything that I feel like we went through at the time, not only being college athletes, which
Whew.
we'll
Talk
get to
about
that,
it. Mm-mm-mm.
but just being women in college and like not being focused on, oh, the boys and da, da, da. I just want to always party. Like we
Mhm.
partied as like a, hey, we made it through this week. Let's have
Let's
a
turn
ball on
up.
Friday night, Saturday night. It was mainly Saturday night because I never really could do Fridays because I cheered. So like,
Yeah, and you were both seasons as well, like football, and then you jumped into basketball. So it was honestly a really hectic schedule, and we were always in that time where like I was in preseason, you're cheering for football, and then literally in basketball, you're in season with me.
yeah.
So and then you also did track.
And then I jumped into track
Yeah,
season.
so very hectic.
Very hectic. And I think having those drives, having our little group was so important because yes, we were going to go party elsewhere,
Regardless, elsewhere.
but I think it really helped us like get that little grouping of like our support, which Riss, you know this as well as I do because we was locked in.
We was locked in.
Riss, you and I would be like real I'm gonna let you tell it the best because it makes me laugh, but me and you would be down struggle.
Yeah, so many seasons. So, like, for people who don't know, like, we went to Catawba College. It's like a smaller college, there's not a lot to do, stuff like that. But honestly, the hard parts of it were just going through that as a student athlete. You're in your like getting into your 20s, figuring out life, a lot of things, and like you as a student athlete, of course you grow up like doing your sport for so long, so many years, and so that becomes like a part of your identity. And so I feel like part of that is like ingrained in you. So for us, really, things were not going particularly well. For me in basketball, which was one of the places that I identified as like, a source of whatever. Like if I didn't know anything, I knew, oh, I can hoop, I can play basketball.
Yeah.
But that went kind of to crap, during that time, that sophomore year. And I was coming in, new place, meeting a bunch of new people, whatever. And the one thing that I usually found, like, oh, this is my safe place, happy, safe haven, was like taken away from me in that way. Like our coach was not a fan of me, and we had so many struggles, baby. But I was like sitting on the bench for the first time, like experiencing what it's like when like your teammates are like they don't love you instantly and like stuff like that. And being a young woman, you want all of this validation and acceptance, and you want to find a place where you belong. But I never felt like I fit. And that's where like our friendship was so healing, because I kind of found that community outside of my sport, which kind of allowed me to be better um in other areas. But like those down seasons were hard because it's like most of the time you're going through so much, and it's like, who do you turn to that can understand, like, hey, like this is taking a toll on me emotionally and physically, and I don't have anywhere to turn. Because for me, I'm new, I'm outside of my state, I'm from Georgia. I'm in North Carolina, I don't know nobody up here. There's nowhere for me to turn. And like you just feel like you're in this sunken place and you don't know where to go. And we would always be like in our seasons kind of similarly at the same time, because I mean you were dealt with a lot with track, especially in your shoulder injury. Ooh, but yeah, during those times, like us having each other and coming out, of the room finally, and just sitting and talking, just having community, like that really, really, I feel like in a lot of ways saved me, because I was in the dumps, in
I
the
I
dumps.
love I love the fact that you literally said community because that is something I like. I swear I preach about it every single day. And
Mhm.
just the fact that like and I think you can really relate to this. I tried to do life alone for so long.
Oh yeah,
I tried to do it
absolutely.
alone because I was like, I don't need anybody. If I just isolate, if I just pull myself back, I'm gonna bounce back 10 times better. I'll be fine.
Mhm.
I just need me. And I finally, and like you said, the friendship was so healing in the way that I didn't have to just hold it in and be like, okay, I have it myself. I had somebody to not only talk to, but you also were going through something very similar. I'll never say
Yeah.
that they're the same because they're not. And
Yeah,
the struggles we went through are so similar in the way that we felt we had to protect ourselves.
exactly.
We slowly started to see each other shine bright again and like
Yeah,
actually like be who we are. And I think it's been it's not even just been like a journey of, oh, like while we were in college, because currently, not
here we
only are we
are.
still friends now, but we still have these kinds of conversations that again just feel so healing.
Mhm.
And I was telling people at work a couple weeks ago because we do this thing that's called what went right.
Yeah.
Just to like highlight on like the positives and like bring up that whole thing. And I was like, I had a really good conversation with a really good friend of mine. And I said, this is the girl that I go to when I'm here. And I've always lived up here, like just in a sense of the way I hold myself, the energy I bring, and stuff like that. And I was like, having that friendship for me is huge. Like, it is such a like weight off the shoulders. Like, I don't have to put up this front to be somebody for my team, to be
Yeah,
somebody for whoever else I at the time was. Let's be so for real. we
Yeah.
sought validation from other people.
Oh,
I know
absolutely.
I did 100% of the time. I
Absolutely.
was so worried about how people saw me because of something that happened at our early years in Catawba,
Early.
um,
Exactly.
that it poisoned my mind for so long.
And it made you that speaking more to that point of like isolation, that drives you further into a hole when, we're coming in, we're new to college, right? And figuring out how to do stuff. And I know like maybe places that you sought validation or places that, you felt were safe. It's kind of like our Catawba was really small, almost like a high school. So when people felt away or things didn't go right or people turned on you, it made you feel like literally I have nowhere to go. And Jaleesa is also not from here, like we're not from North Carolina. So we kind of felt like, where do we go? Like we're isolated. And I do even remember at one point, like I had a breakdown, maybe like around Christmas, which is that time when you're missing your family, but we're all going because we're athletes. So we get maybe a day or two or some time, but we're back with, we have to go back. And
Mhm.
so like I had a breakdown at one of our tournaments and I remember like really confiding. Like I remember this is a point where I'm like, okay, I can't do this alone. I gotta confide in like a teammate or somebody close, right? And then my coach the next day when I get back is like, you're like tells me I'm suspended because he doesn't feel like I want to be on the team. My teammates have told him everything that I said, right? Like just venting. And even more so in terms of that isolation, it pushed me so much further. And I know with you as well, like situations that you dealt with because of that feeling like you can't trust anybody, you're like, okay, well, I got me and I'm gonna be fine. But that lack of community drove us into such dark places. It's almost like we couldn't like see like who we were. But I think the important thing about our friendship is like even in our darkest places, I feel like we always saw the light. And I feel like that's something that someone had said to me was like, even though like I knew you were in a dark place, like I always sensed the light. Like you didn't emit your like darkness. So I knew that that wasn't who you were. That might have just been your season, you know?
I think that's such a perfect way to say it because Riss, because me and you say this a lot to each other
Yeah.
about being bright and being that light, especially for other people, that me and you also in the midst of everything we were going through, because we are who we are, we still gave everything of ourselves to other people, which good and bad,
Good and
depending on
bad.
who it was, but it became a situation of like energy taking. Like
Ooh,
we would give out of an empty cup.
empty cup.
And
And
I'm
you,
not saying this as like a, oh my God, me and Riss like pity us because hell no, don't, because I'm gonna be mad. Don't. I don't want it. um, I'm saying it in a sense of like there are so many other people that can relate to it and just
Mhm.
have this feeling of like, hey, like I feel like I have nothing left to
Nothing
give,
left to give.
but I'm going to keep giving of myself because
Hmm.
that's who I am.
Yeah.
That's the energy then the aura that I present to other
Amen.
people.
And can we talk about being young women? In society, we are conditioned to give unconditionally no matter what, right? You see moms, wives, whatever, they're supposed to just continue giving. They're drained, burnt out, things like that. We're literally trained from young ages like to continue giving and giving. And I feel like that contributes as to why, especially with women. And I saw this in a lot of like the more of the women athletes, but of course there's men too just going through their mental struggles was that a lot of these women are just like, oh, I gotta fight my way out and just keep going until they reach a point of a literal breakdown. And I feel like for us now, like being people who are energy givers in that way, we had to learn, like, I think being around you made me realize that sometimes you need to be around people that it doesn't take that energy to be around. When I leave our conversations, I leave field. And I feel like that was the biggest difference in recognizing what is for me and what's not. Because conversations with you, I would leave, even though I was in a dark place, maybe at that time, I would leave smiling, so happy, like, hey, life's going to be okay again. And like, that's what your spirit and your aura has always done for me. And like, of course, like we talk about giving that to each other, but really it's important to be around people that it doesn't require you to exert all of your energy to be around. And I feel like that's something that we had to learn, especially at Catawba.
The other part about learning about that, and this comes into mainly, I think, junior year before COVID hit and senior year for sure. Um,
Mm,
because we would both be in our seasons, not knowing we're both in our seasons. Because when me and you would do this, I'm saying this because I also need to mention this just on the podcast.
mm.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
Don't be like we were. We were foolish.
We were young. We were dumb.
Get that.
Um, we would isolate. I'm talking, I would a regular day. I wake up at 5 something, maybe. Well, Heidi would make sure I got up at 5 something because we'd go to
Okay.
weights. We all knew I was asleep. I was unconscious. I don't want to go. Uh,
Ooh-wee.
Heidi would come get me, make sure we're ready to go for weights. We would go do that. We'd come back. I would shower, go to class. If there was a little gap between weights and class, I'm showering. I'm taking a quick nap.
And a nap, baby.
Even if that means it's a 45-minute nap, I'm going to sleep after the shower.
Got to go.
I'm practically running back to my dorm.
Ooh.
Go to class, however long I'm in class. If it's a Tuesday, Thursday, I got time. I got till about 12:30. So I gotta
Oh
be anywhere.
man.
On a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're looking at 9, 10 a.m. So I'm
Oh yeah.
sleeping. That means I wasn't taking care of myself because I wasn't eating.
Oh yeah.
I
You
don't
could
I
eat. I could talk, but could you eat? Can
have food.
we be for real?
Have
I
food.
I honestly, when I say was the thinnest I've ever been in my life, I'm gonna say at one point I got like I am about 5'7", 5'8", and like I was at one point like 130s and like getting smaller. And like for anybody who knows a little bit about that or whatever, that's pretty small for that kind of height. You want to be kind of like maybe
Especially
like
for how athletic you are and like how much muscle you do
how
need.
much muscle I needed to put on. Yeah, it was very, very bad, especially when I first got there. And as far as sleeping too, it's interesting that you mentioned that because when I was very, very depressed, I overslept for everything. And my some of my teammates had to like bang on windows and like do stuff to make sure I was up. But the crazy part about that was nobody really recognized like, oh, something's probably really wrong with this girl. They're just like, oh, you just always oversleep and you whatever. And because I played basketball, you oversleep, what do you got to do? You got to run. I
Run.
was sick,
You get the opportunity to be better. That's what you get.
sick.
So barely eating. And I think at that point, because we're looking at junior year here, end
Yeah.
of sophomore, beginning of junior year, the year of 2019.
Yeah. About that time.
2019. I'm still post gallbladder removal, so I'm still
Mhm.
struggling to eat, and I can't like I was really in a bad place where I wasn't taking care of myself. And the one person that really knew and like did what she could, because I when I say did what she could, I'm literally talking she still went above and beyond.
Mm,
Um, because again, I had nothing left to give. I was done. I was like,
yeah.
I'm I'm here. And junior year really took a crazy toll, I think, on all of us because we were unknowingly about to go into COVID,
Yeah.
but we were all in such like a dark place. So I would sleep, but in between classes, in between practices, stuff like that. I would do all my homework, I swear, in the beginning of the week because I knew I wasn't going to do it later. Because I had a rule for myself: if it's not done by 11 p.m., it's not getting done.
It's important.
Because
Y'all.
at the time, I was like, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound crazy because I've I've hinted at this plenty of times on my podcast.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, "Look, I'm happy I'm alive. Like, we need to just celebrate
Yeah.
the fact that I'm here right now because yeah."
Amen.
And I
And
mean,
we thank God for it. We thank God for it. The world is a better place with you in it. Let's say that.
and because of people like you, I'm able to be here. Um,
Um,
because I would sleep in between all that time, but these are the times where if you didn't see me or Arissa, you're like, "Oh, they're just sleeping, like they're just tired." But certain people close to us are like, "They're not okay." Like,
mm,
we need to do something to get them out of the rooms. I kid you not, as if this conversation actually had happened with like a group of our peoples. Me and Riss the next morning, hey, like let's go get coffee and sit outside.
yeah. Yeah.
Me and her both are telling each other like I really don't want to. Like we would be having FaceTime calls. She's in her dorm, I'm in mine. I'm probably in bed. She's like sitting at her desk and I'm like I'd really rather not. And we're just like no, we should go. Like we should go sit outside. Like
Yeah.
let's go get coffee, let's go sit outside. And we kept doing that and that became such a safe space for us in such a chaotic environment because at the end of the day, I'll get hate for this somewhere at some point.
Ooh.
I think the experience I had at Catawba was what I was meant to have. That's to say that I had really petty things happen to me,
Yeah.
but I learned to grow through that. And that's not to say I wish that on anybody because I really don't. Like
Yeah.
I used to hold so much anger and resentment about Catawba that
Mm,
it manifested itself a little bit a couple weeks ago when you were talking to me about how you just went back for homecoming.
homecoming. Yeah.
And I remember the first thing I told you was, "Yeah, I thought about going, but I'm good."
Yeah.
And that's not to say I didn't like the school, I didn't like the experience because as we can see, I took a lot of amazing things away from that school. I found I started on a journey that I would find myself again, and I've
Yeah.
been on that process since, and I love every second of post October 2018.
Yeah. Ooh.
And it's had some,
No, that down
but
was
I had you, I had Heidi, I had Rissa, you're a Rissa.
I think probably Samia, I think you meant. Maybe and Simone.
I had Simone,
What a
Lexus,
saint.
Mia, I had Ambria, I had let me stop name dropping all these people because they're gonna be like, girl, I didn't say you could say that.
I didn't say you could say me.
You can't mention me.
I didn't go
No,
to high school. I didn't
I
even go to
say
high
that
school.
like any of the people I named are gonna do that. I love every last one of the people I named. They would love I we
Shout
should
to
do
them.
a group call. We
You'd be
should do
like,
a
"Mm."
podcast. I'm down. Let's link up with the homies in a bit. To do like just a little conference call. See how we're all doing.
Mm.
Okay, so I know the video ended in a little bit of a weird spot, seeing as it seems like we're in the middle of the episode. That's because we are. So I want to make it very digestible, and there's so much good content. I had to split the video in two. So join me and Marissa in part two, which should be coming out hopefully very shortly after this. So I will catch y'all in part two. Peace.